Hello, this is Sister Lisa again. We're praying with purpose and power. We're going to be talking about the gatekeepers of the spirit world, but we're going to be talking about the gates, what kind of gates we need to guard, and in later videos, what gates that we need to block and hinder from invading our lives. So I'm going to be coming from Nehemiah 3, and just to give you an idea of who Nehemiah was a cupbearer for the king, and he had a burden on his heart to go and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. So he relinquished his stand temporarily for being a cupbearer to the king, and with the king's permission, went back so he could rebuild the walls of Jerusalem with God's people. So he had a group of people that came to help him. Now, the walls also had gates in them, and these gates were openings. And I'm gonna show a picture because I'm visual, and I know you visual. So I'm gonna be talking about some of the gates around here. So this is the wall of Jerusalem, and each of these little openings here, these little black things right here, are the gates. And we're gonna talk about the importance of these gates spiritually in your life. Yes, they were doing a physical repairing of the wall, repairing and rebuilding the gates. But there is a spiritual component because the reason why Nehemiah had to come back because the walls of Jerusalem had been burned and broken. Therefore, there was breaches, there was open doors, there was fissures, there was openings and breaks and cracks within the walls and the gates. So they had to be repaired. So if you think in terms of the prophetic eye, as a prophetic watchman, as a prophetic intercessor, or even as a child of God, we all have to be mindful of our spiritual gates. We have spiritual gates around us. And then if you are called of God and you have a ministry and you have a particular church, you have gates around it as well spiritually. We have individual gates, and then we have, you know, corporate gates that are at the church. I'm trying to give you the right word for it. Corporate gates. And they all have to be protected through the spirit of prayer, intercession, and how to effectively engage in spiritual warfare. Now, you asking, I'm not prophetic, Elise. I don't have no title, and I'm just going to work, and I go to church and pay my tithes. I got some little gifts and stuff, but I haven't really been, flowing like I'm supposed to. Well, God all gives everybody a measure of prophetic in them, a measure of flowing in the prophetic. That don't mean you gonna get you some, some business cards and some other, and some special gloves and a special cloth and call yourself prophet so and so. But we all have a measure of prophetic in us based on what God called us to do. Just like we have a measure of faith, we have a measure of prophetic because Paul wanted all believers to be able to prophesy. And prophesy is to edify, build, and to bring forth, you know, things that we want to manifest in our life and to build us up, build our souls up. That could be love, joy, peace, a better home, a better family, a better job, a better career, better business, a better ministry. We should be able to speak and prophesy. And if we have the ability to understand the importance of be able to access the heavenly realms and the gates and the dimensions there, then whatever we call and prophesy is already being taken care of in the spirit world. And what we're doing is waiting for the manifestation to come into the natural. And then we have to make sure the gates of hell are not trying to block what we have already prayed for. That's why it's important to understand the gates and understand who the gatekeepers are in the heavenly realms and who the gatekeepers are in the gates of hell. So you can know what's coming against you, who can help you out to bring forth your stuff. Like the angel came for Daniel to come against the prince of Persia, one of them gatekeepers too. And so once you understand how you can access both through the spirit of prayer, through the spirit of consecration, sanctification, fasting, as a believer, you don't have to have a title in front of you to be able to access. Then you're able to engage and fight the devil, get what's due to you, your blessings, and still, live an abundant, overcoming, prosperous life. Because that's what Jesus did. When he died, he took the gates of hell, power and ability to afflict us and destroy us. He's still going to try. But we have the ability and authority because of Jesus, giving us back our access privileges to the Lord and blessings and stuff. and forgiveness and salvation, now we able to get what we need from the Lord and live the abundant life that Jesus came. But the enemy is always going to try to steal, kill, and destroy. That's always his job. But you have to understand how the gates work. So I'm gonna talk about a little bit more about the gates, some of them today, and I'll finish them up on the next one because I don't want to overload put folks with a whole bunch of gates. What are these gates? And if you want a manual ebook like this, from all that I'm going to be teaching, which is going to be in-depth teaching, really in-depth teaching on the gates and spiritual warfare, effective praying, and understanding your ability to access dimensions and realms in God. My favorite part. Now, I'm going to be coming from Nehemiah 3. I'm going to start with talking about the sheep gate. And then Eliashib, the high priest, rose up with his brethren, the priest, and they builded the sheep gate. They sanctified it and set the doors of it, even unto the tower of Mia. They sanctified it. So, Nehemiah had particular people sanctifying it, purifying the sheep gate, you know, building it back up, all that good stuff. So, it can be fortified. As a child of God, as a believer, you need to make sure you are keeping your spirit man, your soul covered up, covering up your spiritual gates. Now, one of the gates you need to keep covered corporately as well as individually, in a corporate setting at a church, in an individual setting in your own life, the sheep gate is protecting the sheep, sacrificial offerings. So we have to make sure we keep our purity to God, whatever we offer to God, whatever we do for God, how we serve God. We have to do that in a form of purity, as a form of sacrifice. Now, when they gave out the lambs and the things like that to offer up to God, they couldn't come with no one-eyed goat, no blemish, sheep, no raggedy looking goats and stuff like that. They had to offer God his best. So we have to be mindful that whatever we're offering to God, it stays pure. This is the individual part. Now, corporately, if you are a pastor, you overrunning a group of souls, we got to protect the sheep gate from the wolves. We got to protect the sheep gate from the enemy. So we have to protect them from being, slaughtered or pulled away, deceived from the enemy, a flock. But as a child of God, we're all a sheep. And we got to protect our sheep, protect ourselves from the enemy. So, this gate is purity and protection from the enemy, contaminating or invading us, or vexating us, or frustrating us in any form of fashion, or afflicting us. Protect the sheep gate. Now, the next one is Nehemiah 3 and 3. But the fish gate did the sons of Hassanah build, who also laid the beams thereof, and set the doors thereof, the locks thereof, and the bars thereof. Now, the fish gate is harvest. Also, in a corporate setting in a church, is the souls. It is the souls that we want to continuously come to Christ. It is the overflow of harvest. So the laborers can have plenty of harvest of souls to minister to. The harvest is plentiful, but the labors are few. So we want to have a continuously flow of souls coming into the house of God to be saved and delivered and set free. Also, it's harvest individually. Fish gate, as you can tell by Jesus, when he told Peter to launch out to the deep, try a different way, he got a whole bunch of fish come up. But fishes also mean harvest of provisions, harvest of blessings. Whatever you have sown, you should reap. Harvest time, just like October, is harvest time. So the fish gate has to be protected. You got to protect your stuff, protect your provision, protect the harvest, protect the souls, because the enemy gonna try to delay your harvest, take your harvest, take some more souls, afflict some souls, oppress some souls, or invade or possess some souls. So we have to be mindful of the gates of hell, why they try to come against the fish gate. That's why that's being repaired. Now, the next one is Nehemiah 3 and 6. Gonna talk about the old gate. Moreover, the old gate repaired Jehoiada, the son of Paseah, and Meshulam, the son of Besodiah. They laid the beams thereof, and set the doors thereof, and the locks thereof. Now, this gate is the old gate, the old ways. Not talking about old wineskin. We're not talking about tradition. We're not talking about religion. We're talking about the old pathways, the old ways. Be ye holy, for I am holy. The old way is to stay holy before the Lord. Another one is truth, being truthful, the spirit of truth. Worship God in spirit and in truth. The old ways. All that in this Bible. God's statutes, commandments, his order, his word is the old way. We have to protect the old gates from the new age, the new ways, the false doctrines, false prophets, false teachings, spirit of error. We have to protect the old gates. That is at the church, can't be preaching any kind of stuff, and ourselves. That we don't start getting food and thinking chanting and astral projection and psychics and tarot cards is the way to maintain a form of divinity. We have to do it the right way, the righteousness, the walk of Christ, Christ likeness. That's the old gate. Now, the next one is the valley gate. Nehemiah 3, verse 13. The valley gate repaired Hanun, and the inhabitants of Zaniah, they built it and set the doors thereof, the locks thereof, and the bars thereof, and 1,000 cubits on the wall unto the Dung Gate. The valley gate is divine direction. The valley gate needs to be protected. It needs to be protected from um, contamination. It needs to be protected from wrong suggestions, wrong recommendation, ungodly advice, ungodly suggestions, ungodly recommendations, and that we're not directed by what the enemy is trying to show us, and also what people are showing us. So our valley gate, a good man's steps are ordered by the Lord. So the valley gate has to be protected in your life. You have to follow what God tells you to do. And in a church, we have to be divinely directed on what God wants us to do in a church or in a ministry. That's corporate, and then there's individually your gates and the church gates. Spiritual. All right, that is the valley gate. Now, the next gate is the Dung Gate. That's in Nehemiah 3 and 14. But the Dung Gate repaired Malchiah, the son of Rechab, the ruler of part of Beth-Kiram. He built it, set the doors thereof, and the locks thereof, and the bars thereof. And I'm gonna stop right there, and I'll talk about the rest of the gates on the next one, not tomorrow, on the next video, and then I'll go more into the gates of hell. While we have to keep it from coming in through open doors and fissures or breakages in the gates that I've discussed so far. Now, and we have to have watchmen. As you notice, Nehemiah had somebody building, fortifying, covering, setting up doors. So we do need, people that are chosen of God to watch the gates, watch spiritually what's going on in church. You also needed to be as a child of God, watching and praying to see what the enemy trying to do in your life. What gate is he trying to enter in? How he's trying to come against your soul, your body, your mind, your family, your finances. You have to watch because he will come in unawares when he doesn't have permission. And sometimes God will allow him to come in to strengthen us and fortify us in our calling, also to get us stronger in spiritual warfare, and to, get a sort of endurance and perseverance, in our walk with him. So we can obtain more, get more, and fight stronger and prevail over the enemy. So sometimes the God will allow the enemy to come in. But a lot of times, the enemy coming in unawares and he has no permission. Coming in creeping. That's why we have to be careful. He'll come in and get at the gate. Even if you got it fortified, he'll try to come in and find some little knocking on it and lure you. So we have to be mindful and discernful of that. But then we have to make sure we don't have nothing, no one, nothing around us that got their gates and spiritual soul and open to invasion of the enemy, and they coming at you because their spirit, soul, mind, body is open to the enemy and the gates of hell. So we're going to be talking more about the gatekeepers of the spirit realm and the gates of hell in the next one. Now, the last one was the Dung Gate. Now, the Dung Gate is in Nehemiah 3 and 14. And I read that one. And the Dung Gate represents purging, pruning, uprooting, purifying, sanctifying, consecration. We have to keep ourselves purified before the Lord. The Dung Gate has to be maintained and fortified. You gotta stay pure, consecrated, sanctified. We can't let unclean spirits, sinful ways, iniquities, stuff enter our heart. That opens the door and the gates to the enemy coming. And see, we have to protect those gates, because as we protect those gates, then we have a direct access to the blessings of God. So we can call for things, that are not in existence, but into existence. We can speak and prophesy for things to come in our life: provisions, health, wealth, love, peace, unity, reconciliation, restoration, revivals, revive our souls. That we have a good, nice little channel. And then when the enemy trying, because he's going to try, we have the ability to come against him effectively in spiritual warfare. So that was what the Lord had me so far. I'll talk about more of the other gates in the next video, and the gates of hell, and how you have to be in a place in God to wage war effectively. No title involved, no title included. Let me add that little disclaimer. You should be able to fight the enemy regardless of whether you have a title, a church. You're not called nothing. You sister so and so. You Mr. So and so. You should be able the ability to fight against the enemy and prevail. So keep praying with purpose and power. Talk to you later. Bye bye.